What's going on, guys? In this video we're going to talk about MicroStrategy. In yesterday's video we talked about it and how they paused their Bitcoin buying last week. Well, we have some news that they're issuing more convertible notes to the tune of $2 billion. Now, Saylor made an original post yesterday saying that Strategy did not sell any shares of Class A commons under their at-the-market equity offering, and they did not purchase any Bitcoin. They currently hold 478,740 Bitcoin, acquired for $31 billion at 65,000 per Bitcoin. Now, a few hours after this post was made, he followed it up with this mention of the $2 billion convertible note offering. BlackRock has been loading up on MicroStrategy. Now they hold 5% of the company. Now, looking at MicroStrategy, it's basically been in this consolidation ever since November. Keep that timeline in mind. But basically, MicroStrategy has been range bound from the beginning of November till now, ranging from basically the mid 200s to around 400. Back in December, it filled its gap from earlier in November. And in my opinion, MicroStrategy, the Bitcoin miners, they've been range bound because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's price from November till now has been basically range bound from the roughly $90,000 area to our high of about $108,000. Bitcoin has been in this multi-month consolidation. Now let me show you guys that every time Bitcoin has gotten to this level on the 4-hour on the RSI, in hindsight, it has been an opportunity to buy for a short-term swing trade. In my opinion, it's also a good time to buy before the cycle tops out. I do think after this multi-month consolidation is over, we are going to break out. And right now, one thing I've been closely watching, and I told you guys this yesterday, but it's basically this descending resistance Bitcoin has been continuing to bounce off of, unable to break out of. I do think it's a matter of time until we either break this descending resistance or break this 90,000. But Bitcoin has basically been in this multi-month consolidation, which in turn has essentially kept MicroStrategy and the Bitcoin miners alike stuck in this stagnation as well. Now I'll show you guys Riot and how it's also been range bound since November, but we also have some news from them. First off, let's look at this news. 12 US states now hold a total of $330 million in MicroStrategy, or Strategy now it's called, with California being the largest investor in Strategy with more than 150 million held in state retirement funds, taking almost half of this total stake. Other states with a good amount of exposure is also Florida, Wisconsin, North Carolina. But as I said, California has the most MicroStrategy. They have $83 million in the Teachers Retirement Fund. They have $76 million in the Public Employees Retirement System, while Florida's State Board of Administration Retirement System holds $46 million worth, and North Carolina Treasurer of the State has $22 million worth of MSTR. Other states hold smaller positions such as Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Louisiana, Maryland, Texas, and Utah. These states are buying Bitcoin proxies, and they're lining up for proposals for a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, before we briefly talk about Bitcoin on a state level, let's talk about this company, State Street. They plan to launch crypto custody in 2026. With Citi, I used to call them Citibank, I don't know if anyone calls them that anymore, but with Citi also leading in. State Street is the second largest custodian, with $46 trillion in assets under custody, with Citibank being fourth, with $25 trillion. Now, some of you know about this SAB 121. I've mentioned it a few times here, but this accounting rule basically blocked these US banks from participating in digital asset custody. But now that SAB 121 is out of the picture, banks can engage in digital asset custody. Now, it says here that a State Street survey in the middle of last year showed a strong client appetite for digital asset custody, both tokenization and crypto, but more for crypto. Because of this, the bank started making moves months before the US election, partnering with Taurus in August, and appointing a new digital asset leader in October. Because of this removal of the SAB 121, this is enabling banks to get into crypto that otherwise weren't able to. Now, some of you know we mentioned Texas and how they're working on a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Well, Riot Stock's VP of Research, Pierre Rochard, testified before the Texas Senate Committee on Business and Commerce in support of Senate Bill 21. But he basically explains that a state reserve would hedge against future economic uncertainty. I'll leave this down below for you guys if you want to read it up. But he also emphasized Bitcoin's limited supply. Fewer than 21 million coins will ever be issued. Now, this proposed legislation would eliminate the previous $500 million yearly cap on Bitcoin acquisitions. And SB 21 would also permit investment into digital assets if they maintain a 12-month average market cap above 500 billion. Excuse me for my voice. For the time being, this only applies to Bitcoin. The Texas Senate Committee is scheduled to vote on this in March of 2025. This is coming. There are many proposals being made among different states. Next comes the approvals. Some, of course, will get denied. Some will get back to the drawing board and have to change some things here and there. But I do believe some will get approved. And we will see some massive inflows coming from these states, and this is another step in adoption. Bitcoin in this cycle versus last cycle seems so much farther along in its adoption phase. We have states talking about it, we have the country talking about it, we have other countries talking about it, we have BlackRock and some of the other largest firms in the world loading up on Bitcoin. They know it's not going away and they want a piece of it. Now, speaking of Riot, I did want to show you that this Bitcoin miner has been range bound with Bitcoin's price ever since November. We have been basically stuck in this range ever since Bitcoin has been range bound. So is Riot, so is most of the other Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin needs to break out for these Bitcoin miners to break out. One thing to consider with Riot is they are about to report earnings. Some of its peers have reported profitable quarter already. I think there's a chance we see it from Riot as well. They are expecting growth in revenue, not only quarter over quarter, but also year over year, nearly a double in revenue from a year ago. Now, what's been happening with Riot lately is ever since basically February, it's been range bound in this channel here. I do think earnings is going to either break it out to the upside or break it down. These Bitcoin miners aren't going to be range bound for much longer, in my opinion. With many now posting profitability, all they're waiting for is Bitcoin to make that next leg up. The market seems unwilling to push them up while Bitcoin is range bound. I do still believe that these Bitcoin miners are going to beat Bitcoin from cycle low to cycle top, from bear market low to cycle top. Riot has been among the worst, only 250% up from the bear market low. Some Bitcoin miners have outperformed Bitcoin to here, even with their pullbacks, even with them far from 52-week highs, while Bitcoin isn't that far from all-time highs. But Riot is a clear exception. Riot is doing a lot worse than Bitcoin so far. I do think Riot even will outperform Bitcoin to cycle top. If Bitcoin gets to 150K, doing a 10x from the bear market low of $15,000, that would mean a stock like Riot will have to get into the 30s to outperform Bitcoin. You might find that very impossible, find it very unlikely, but I personally still think it's doable. I do think the Bitcoin miners will end this cycle strong with some profitable quarters, and we're already starting to see that with most of the ones that have recently reported Q4. Riot's on its way to report Q4, which was a quarter where Bitcoin rallied in price, where Bitcoin started in the 60s and ended up at around 100,000. Q4 so far has been a great quarter for the Bitcoin miners reporting, and I'd expect the same from Riot. The negative is they haven't really reacted from a price perspective, and we can point at the reasons till the cows come home. I think the major reason is Bitcoin's range-bound price, the worries of tariffs, the recent worries of inflation. I do believe once we break this descending resistance, Bitcoin will go on its next leg up. Bitcoin really needs to reclaim that 50 MA. It has been a resistance as of lately, but once we break this descending resistance, our next goal is going to be the 50 MA, and from there we just have to take out our previous highs. Things can change quickly for Bitcoin. Keep in mind that in early January we were right around the same price, actually a little lower, 92,000, before running up to create a new all-time high in only a matter of 10 days from 92,000 to a new all-time high. Things can change very quickly for Bitcoin. I believe in the end, if you follow the cycle, you will do all right. And I do believe it'll be important to take some profits in late 2025. To me, we are not in a FOMO state. We are not in a euphoric state. I do believe we'll end this cycle in a euphoric state. And that will be our key point to start trimming, start exiting the Bitcoin miners, taking profits, and preparing for the next accumulation phase. But what say you guys? How are you feeling lately about the Bitcoin miners, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin? Are you ready for that breakout? Things always seem so negative until suddenly they're not. Do you guys remember the negativity back in August of 2024 during the Mt. Gox fear? We had that breakout, all the spot ETF hype, that initial buy the rumor, sell the news, and then it went on to break new all-time highs, get into the 70,000s, before being basically in a downtrend for multiple months. Until what happened, we finally broke that downtrend and went on to take new all-time highs out. People's sentiment around here, around the bottom during that Mt. Gox fear, reminds me a lot of the sentiment right now. People are ready to throw in the towel. People are getting sick of this choppy action, these downtrends. I do think we'll go from a state of worry, a state of panic, to a state of euphoria, and it changes very, very quickly. But let me know what you guys think about that. Get ready for Riot's earnings. They should be reporting very soon. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.